Hello and welcome to week 8. My name is Mildred, and this week we are going to look at hashing in Python. Now, hashing is a technique that we use to map data to values. We have hash values of hash codes that we use to perform fast lookup. Now, regardless of how large your data is, when you use hashing, it is going to be very fast to look up because you go directly to whatever you're looking for. When you want to insert, when you want to delete, when you want to search, it's going to have an average case of big O of 1. In Python, we have this inbuilt function called the hash function like this. And we're going to use this to return a hash code for any value that we want to insert. If you watch your pre-recorded video, we went in detail about the hash function and we see how it returns unique integer for any immutable object. So the object or whatever you want to hash must be immutable. Now, let's look at the data structure that we call hash tables. Now, when we have a hash table, what we are implementing is an associative array that will allow us to store key value pairs. So we have the value and then we have the hash code that we'll call the key. And then we can access them in constant time. And when we want to access them, we use a hash function. Now, how this works is that information is stored in something we call buckets. Let's say we have empty lists like this. These are called buckets. And so when you have information or an element you want to store, it stores it in buckets. It has a hash code and puts the value in a bucket. Now, there are times where your hash code or you want to generate a hash code, it all resolves to the same bucket, right? So what happens is called a collision. So you're supposed to store a value here, another value here, or anywhere in memory within this bucket. And you have two elements you want to store, and the two of them resolve to the same bucket. There are two methods that we solve collision. And one is the chaining method, and the other method is open addressing method. Chaining is where we make space within the same bucket and allow the new element to be put. So you have something like, so let's say you have 1 here and it resolves to the same 2. So you now have something like a list of 2 items in the bucket, right? But when you have open addressing, is where it looks for a bucket close or next to where the conflict is and stores the item there. In our pre-recorded video, we went into details about how to implement the hash table. We looked at the different methods that we can use to solve the problem of chaining. We demonstrated the different ways that we can have different methods within the class that can do different functions, and it all came down to hash sets and hash maps, where we see how the inbuilt sets data type was created, that's the hash set, and then the hash map is the dictionary data type. So we're not going to go into details about what we did in the pre-recorded video, but we're going to try to see how hash table, hash sets, and hash map can be implemented. We'll try to create an app. Your assignment has said you should create an app, like a social media app that will use the hash table, hash set, and hash map. We're going to do something similar, not exactly as your assignment, but we'll create an app that will make you understand the use of this data structure. So let's say we want to create a smart contact manager. Let's call it contact manager. We want to create an app and want to use this app to explain how hash tables will work conceptually. We want to use it to illustrate how the dictionary data type is a hash map, how the set data type is a hash set, and we want to build like a menu-driven application that will manage contact data efficiently. So the topics in Python that we're going to use basically here is going to be functions, loop, conditional statements. And so you always have to refresh some of these basic topics for you to be able to move forward. So we want to create this smart contact. And the first thing we want to do is to get a hash map that will store the name and the contact details. So maybe the name will be the key, the contact details will be the value. Then we want to store unique phone numbers, right? And so that will be the hash set to store the unique phone numbers. And then we want to create a function. And this function, we want to one that will add contact, one that will find a contact or search, one that will delete a contact, one that we can use to list all the contacts, right? And maybe we'll do an extended one where we'll try to use JSON to see how we can create this as an API where we use a JSON file to persist data. So when you run, it will save the contact somewhere, or where we can have validation. So let's start with it simple, and then we go forward. So we know that a hash map is the dictionary data type. So when you're creating your app, you want to use what is inbuilt for optimization, except if you are writing a test or you are doing an assessment that requires that you don't use inbuilt. But for production, you want to choose inbuilt first. So the first thing we want to do is to create a hash map. Let me write it here, hash map. And this map will store name and contact details. So now we'll do a dictionary as a hash map. So let's create an empty dictionary we call contact, like this. We want to store the phone numbers, and we want the phone numbers to be unique. So we use a hash set. The set data type is a hash set. So let's call this unique numbers. I'll try to make mistakes so that we can see how we'll correct things as we go along. All right, so this one will store numbers. So let's say store unique phone numbers. All right. Now we have our data structures, the hash map. So let me write it here so you can see that this is a hash map and this is a hash set. Now you want to create functions. We're not doing this with object-oriented programming. We'll just do it plain so you can understand it, and then you can translate it into object-oriented programming where you supply the contacts and the unique numbers or the phone numbers. So let's create a function, and we'll call this function add contact. Now this function will take parameters, the name, we want to get the phone number, and we want to get the email address. So let's say these are the details we want to add. So we want to use the phone number like we did here to be like the unique ID for each of the clients. So if you are managing contacts, you want something to uniquely identify them, so you can retrieve the person's detail by a unique ID that only the person has. We can use email or phone. In this case, let's use the phone number as the unique ID. So the first thing we want to do is we want to check this hash set if this phone number is not there before we add it. So that's what you typically do in production, right? So we'll say if the phone in unique numbers, then we maybe want to return. Well, since this is not a class we are doing, let's make it plain. So we'll just use print statement for now. So let's print. So we'll print phone number. Let's put the phone. Already. And then something like this. But if it's not, then we want to add that. So we'll just return, and then we want to add if it's not. So we'll say we want to add the contact. So in this hash set, what I'm trying to achieve is this will store unique phone numbers, and this is what we'll always check when we want to add a contact. We want to always check if that number already exists. And if that number already exists, we print out this message and then we use a return statement. If it doesn't exist, then we want to store that contact here. We want the name to be the key, and then the phone and the email will be the value. So now we're going to work with the methods that we use to work on dictionary data type or to modify. So for dictionary, contact, so you can add a key value pair by calling the key like this. So say contact name. So this is going to be the key is equal to, we want the value to be a dictionary. So the key of this dictionary will be the phone, and then we'll supply the phone number. And then we want also the email. I'll supply the email. Is it clear? Do you understand it?
Yes, so far so good.
Yeah. And so who can tell me what we'll do next to make sure that once this is added, it is now flagged as the unique ID and you cannot add this contact again a second time. So what will I do on the next line, looking at what I've done so far? Can you think of what to do to make sure that once this is added, we cannot add it again a second time?
But to add the set, the numbers now to the set, the phone number to the set.
Perfect. So now we'll just say, we know the method, the add method we use for the set data type. So we'll say unique numbers dot add, and just add only the phone because it's the phone we want to add there. So now the phone is there in the set, and so every time we want to add a contact, we always check that set if that phone number exists. So you see one method we did that, and then you can now print and return, right? You can say print added contact. Let's say we added the contact name. You can print whatever you want to be displayed. So you see how this is now. We can go straight into testing this before we even go forward. Let's see. So I want to add a name. Grace Brown. I want to add the phone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This will be the string because of the dashes. And I want to add an email. g.stone@test.com. So let's run this. can say added contact Grace Brown. We can actually say we want to see print contact. We should have looked through this to see what is there. Print unique numbers. So contact has Grace Brown as the key, and then it has a dictionary of the phone and the email. So typically, this is exactly how you will be building an API. We use hash set and hash map in everything we're going to build. And so when we start building those commercial apps, this is exactly the structure. And this is why this topic is very important. So I want you to take a minute to go through it and tell me if this is something you naturally think of, or this is how you think about it. So you always have to challenge yourself with an app, and then you'll be able to see the best way to think about it. You might be able to come up with a different way to think about this, and it will be better. So you can translate this into object-oriented programming, and we know in production we'll post the return types and all of those bells and whistles to make it completely production ready. So should I go forward and we'll try to add maybe a search, something to find the contact, to delete the contact, or a function that when we call this function, we can fill a table and display all of the contacts. Should we go forward, or you understand the whole idea?
I understand.
Another person, do you understand?
Yes. Yeah, I understand this part.
Okay. So now, when you want to build an app, the first thing and the best thing for you to do is to think about the functionalities. Now we're just building this on the fly. I have not thought about this, but we're building this on the fly to see what we come up with. But ideally, you want to sit down, create an outline of all your functional requirements, what functionalities you want to have. You can now create an algorithm of how you want to achieve this functionality. You can go back to basics, because even the best software engineer still goes back to the basics to see what is the best way to approach this. Should I use inbuilt function? Should I reinvent the wheel? Should I create something custom? Should I use some complex multiprocessing or caching? So these are the kind of things we need to start thinking about. All right. So the next thing we want to create is something we can use to, let's say, find a contact. So we can add as many as possible, and then we can now create a function to find, to delete, to display, and things like that. So let's say def find contact. Now we want to see that the key is always the name that we use for this contact here. So when we want to find a contact, we want to display the name. Another thing that you can do here is when these are entered, you might decide to change everything to lower before you send it there. So when they are searching, you want to convert any set term to lower. You understand? You can decide to make everything in the same case, uppercase, you want to title case. So anytime anybody wants to find, so that's one thing you do in production to control the casing, especially in the kind of searches that might be case sensitive, or if you have something that has to do with pattern matching. So here we want to get the name, and then we'll search to find the name. So what is the first thing you will do when you want to search something? Anybody?
I'm sorry. Go through the question again. My network wasn't stable.
What would it be the first thing you would do when you want to search something?
To get that item first.
Yeah, before you get the item, what do you do?
We will check if it is exist in that specific array.
Perfect. So we want to check if name in the dictionary contact. So you know in real world that this contact might be some table in a database, right? And sometimes we fetch this in database. I've not showed you guys how to cache so that you always have it. We'll do that in an advanced course, but you always check that database or wherever that list exists, and you say, if naming that dictionary contact, we want to get the information, right? So let's say we'll create a variable called info and we'll get contact. Let's get the name. So if the name exists, we want to store that name in this, and then let's print something. Let's say we want to say the name, and then we'll get the info, because now we get the name here, and once we get this key, so this info is like the key we are storing, which is contact name is the key, as you see how we did it here. So it holds all the values here, the phone and the email. So we'll do info, and we want to get the phone and the email. So we'll say info phone, and we want to get the email. So we'll have the name, we have the phone. Let's just do a formatting here. Let's do like the pipe, and we'll put the info email. All right. And if the name is not in the contact, we want to print contact not found, something like this. So you always use your return statement when you are building this in production. So something like this. Now, do you understand how we came about doing this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so now let's say find contact, and we'll have a name Grace Brown, like this. And let's find contact, let's say Jane Doe. So Jane Doe should not be found, and Grace Brown should be found. So let's run. So contact Jane Doe not found, Grace Brown's details was displayed here. So we see the name Grace Brown, we saw the phone, we saw the email. So you see how it's displayed. All right. So we have this working. So most of all of those checks and balances will be done in production, where you put error handling and all of that. But you get the concept. So now you can see we're using inbuilt hash map and hash set, but this is fundamentally what it is. If you go to your pre-recorded videos, you'll see how you can implement the hash set and the hash map, and that will be the case for your assignments. Your assignments are expected to use object-oriented programming, and it's going to be exactly like this. This is the idea you're going to use for your assignments. It's going to make it easier when you follow what we've done here. All right. And so for the hash table for login, the first one was authentication for login. You'll create that class. Maybe you have a authentication class that will have the add user, the login, and the delete user methods. And then for the friend recommendation for the second task, you have something like a method that will recommend friends. And when you want to do friend recommendation, you know that you want to use the set to make sure that any friend that is recommended is not in the friend list already. Okay. And then if you want to track posts, it has to be a hash map where you want to see the person's accounts and the post the person has made. So you can do that, right? And then for the bonus, you see how you can use the class to combine all the three different classes that you have created. All right. and then test how to use them. So this method we are using is exactly what you will follow for your assignment. But when you understand how to rebuild hash map and hash sets, there will be complex applications that you might need to create the hash table, hash map, and hash set. But we already see that is exactly what we are doing. So in the event that you don't want to use the name as the key here, you want to use a hash code, then you can use the inbuilt hash function here to hash the name and let it be the key. And so you store it in the bucket, right? But that is going to be like reinventing the dictionary when we can use the dictionary data type one time. Now, I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So here we have the key has the name. But what if you don't want to use the name here as the key? You want to use the inbuilt hash function to hash the name that was sent to now be the key. Okay? So the name will now become the key here. And so when we run this again, we will not find this hash name here. So we now begin to have an issue here. So we hash the name here. So let's say hash code is equal to hash, or let's call it key. Key is equal to hash name, right? So we want to have the key now will be equal to this. I think this will not work this way. Yeah, okay, it works that way. So we added contact Grace Brown, and then we have an empty dictionary here where we want to print contact, and then we get the phone number. Contact Grace Brown was not found because we're not supplying a key, but we're supplying a hash here. So when we use this method of using this, then you go to your pre-recorded video to see how when you hash this, when you want to find. Now let's go to that method. I'm trying to show you in the event two different ways where you can use the name as the key, which is easier for search. And when you decide you don't want to use the name as the key, let's say you have this already, and you've hashed the name to get this, and if you want to search, you have to get the index and hash that index. It's going to be a different method, and if you look at your pre-recorded video, you'll see the method that will be different. So let's say we have it will be implemented better when we use classes here, where we can specify the size of the table. So we'll create a table, we'll specify the size of that table, and then we'll create different methods within that class where we can make the key, but we want the key to be the index position. And so every time we hash the key like this, we want to modulo the total memory or the size of the table. That way, we'll keep it within the indexes will be within the table size. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but let's finish this one and then I'll go back to doing this method so that you can see different ways just in the event of you have job interviews or things like that. Okay, so we'll quickly go through this one and then we'll come back and use the object-oriented programming method to redo this so you can have a better range of stuff. So this was unique. This was contact name, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, let's create another one to delete contact. So we'll say delete contact. So when you want to delete contact, you're going to supply the name, right? And what do you do before you even attempt to delete?
Check if it exists.
Yeah, so we'll now check if it exists. So we'll say if the name in contact, we're going to do what next now? Now we're trying to delete, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think we'll do in this deletion? How do we delete? Can anybody tell me what you think about the deletion?
We use dot remove for the
Okay.
name.
Yeah, so we'll remove from where?
From unique numbers.
And from where?
From unique
From
numbers.
both
Can you hear me?
contacts and from unique numbers.
Exactly. You have to
Yes.
remove it from everywhere. So integrity, right? We did ACID properties in MySQL. And in real world scenario, you have like database storage, or there'll be somewhere where this storage is coming from. So what you will now do is to make sure that there is data integrity, where if you have things are linked by foreign key, either you are cascading when you remove from the primary table and remove from everywhere, or you are removing from everywhere if you are not using InnoDB and you don't support foreign table and foreign keys and the likes. So the first thing you always want to think, where do these data exist? So you don't want to go and say, and we have a lot of that problem in a lot of apps. Like in most banks, I want to do a change of name. They'll send the bank statement, the name is still the former name. You go log onto the app, your name is the new name. You will get money transfer receipt, your name is the new name. You get your card, your name is the former name. So because the systems there is no data integrity. So that person has to always remember to change it everywhere, which is the worst way you can handle your data. So now, because we are working with dictionary and set here, if in the case of database, when we use foreign keys and when we define a table to cascade what the parent is, and there's a foreign key link with the child, if the parent is deleted, it will cascade the deletes to go down to the child. But if not, we want to delete it straight there. So we want to first of all remove that phone number, because it's the phone number that is in the unique numbers, right? So let's get the phone number is equal to, so get the key. So the key is contact name, right? So the key is contact is S, contact name, and we want to get the phone number from this. So phone. So we want to get the key and the value there. So get that, and then we will say unique numbers dot remove, and what we are going to remove here is the phone number that we get here. Okay, you can put this directly here in the remove method, but I try to make it clear so that you can see. All right, then when you go to the contacts here, you want to delete everything in that key. So we can use the delete keyword here to say delete contact name, which is the key, something like this. And then you can now display a message to say print and say deleted the name, something like this. And then you can now say else. If that name doesn't exist, you print something like contact name not found, or any message you want, something like that. So you see that? So let's do another method. This method, we'll use it to list all of the contacts when we want to list the contacts. And after this, we'll try to simulate hash table for this, so that we can do the method I was talking about. Okay. So let's see how we can do that, then we'll test everything. So let's call these, let's call it this contact. Let's just make the name. Now, we want to retrieve all the saved contacts. If you want to make a nice display, you can do that. But let's just look, if not contact. So if it is empty, we'll just say no contacts available, right? So print no contact available, and then else. So what do we do now? How do we display all the contacts?
Use a loop.
Yes, we'll use a loop. Man, you guys are making me happy today. You know everything. So use a loop. So let's just beautify it. We'll print something before we start. Let's say I want to always start a new line first. Let's put something contact. But this will not be in production. We'll not use print statements. We'll be using return, except if we deliberately want to print out something. Okay? And then we'll say for name, info, in contact dot items. And then we'll say, let's just print this out. Let's use the format string too. We want to print the name, which is the key, and we'll put the info, which is the value. We want to display just the phone number, or we'll display both phone and email. So let's say phone. We can even use a pipe like before. And then we'll do info, email, something like this. And then we can print the line again to make sure it is beautiful or something like that. Let's print a line like this. And then print a new line by putting a \n, something like that. So this will display. So let's start with list contacts so that we'll see how it goes when there is nothing to list. Right? So let's try to list contacts. So let's list contacts. Let's see how that goes first. And then let's I'm trying to think of how we'll display everything there. Okay, let's add contact here. After we list, let's add more contacts. Let's call this Jendo. And Jendo is 456 123 789. Oh, let's say J.do. We'll add another contact. Let's call this Michael Stone. And Michael Stone is 789 123 456. And we'll have M.Stone. So let's change this one to brown. Right, let's add another one. And let's say this person is Benjamin Gray, something like this. And we'll have 321 654 987. And we'll have B. Gray at test.com, things like that. So we can print contact, we can print unique numbers, and find Grace Brown. Let's find a name that doesn't exist, John Doe, and let's find contact that exists, Michael Let's just change the case, but I think it's going to have a problem here. So let's say Michael Stone. And then the next thing we want to do is to delete a contact, Michael Stone. And then we'll print again. Let's delete a contact that doesn't exist. And then let's list contact. And before when we print, let's list contact here. And let's list contact here too. So now we want to see how all of this will work. So we'll see when we have an error. So there's no error actually. So the first thing we wanted is to list all the contacts. It has no contacts available because we have nothing there. Then we added 4 contacts. We added Grace Brown, Jane Doe, Michael Stone, Benjamin Gray. Now we wanted to just print out the whole contact dictionary. We can see it's a dictionary where the key is the name of the person, and then the value is a dictionary of phone and email. All right, so we have a nested dictionary, and so we have all of them like that. And when we want to print the unique numbers, we see is a set of all the numbers, phone numbers. And so anytime you want to print out only phone numbers that exist, you have a set of them, but it's not associated with the name. It's just something that we use to check if it exists. Now, when we said we want to list contacts again this time, because we have added them, we use this function to see it. So we see printed Grace Brown, phone number, email, Jane Doe, phone number, email, and we'll have all of them printed out like this. So if this is like an endpoint, that's all a route, your front end will display, you would choose how your front end would display this, maybe on a table or a list or something. And then we want to find contact Grace Brown. It brings out all of the information of Grace Brown. We try John Doe. John Doe is not there. We say contact John Doe not found. We try to get Michael Stone. So now this is where the case sensitivity. And remember, I told you earlier that you might want to use the upper, lower, or title method for your strings to make sure your string are converted to lower to help the search. So because we use Michael Stone here and we use it in lowercase where it is in title case here, we can't find it. You can see that not found. Okay, when we want to delete 2, you cannot find it, so it is case sensitive. So even when you do encryption, because you want to identify sensitive records when you want to store in a database, the same thing, so the case. So how do you do that? When you want to add contacts here, where you are adding the contact, once the name is supplied, you put the contact name is the key. You can put dot title like this when it's supplied, or you understand? So then this title, the name, whenever it's coming. And so when somebody wants to check that, you can say if name dot title, so it will be in the title case. Okay, and the same thing there. So here, contact name dot title. So you know how you do that. Before they insert, you do title case before you search in title case. All right?
Yes.
So you can do the name.title from the beginning and just use it. Name is equal to name.title, so it will make it easier. So I'll just do it in a beginner's way so you can see why I'm doing that like this. So if name.title in contact, something like that. And so when we run this again, we'll still get some errors there because of this .title that I'll put there. Yeah. On 914. So you can see how we had an error putting the .title here like this. Okay, so because if name in contact name.title. Okay, so when you supply all of this, you want to put it in title case. When the user when you call this here, you might want to say, when you want to find here, you want the title case or the search. So it will be easier when you do it on your functions in production, when you change whatever the supply to title. So you can say name is equal to name dot, I think it's like this, title. Or let's say want to make it lower or upper or whatever you want to do. Let's make it title. All right. And here, let's do the same thing here. I want to try to simulate mistakes that you will likely make so that you will already see it, because sometimes the more you make mistakes, in fact, when you have difficulties getting something done, the better programmer you be, because your brain registers what is wrong, what will not work. So off the go, you always know that a particular way of doing things, and you know what kind of errors you have. And so there are certain managerial interviews you go for, and this interview requires that you have certain years of experience. And why they say so is that you would have seen several mistakes, you would have spent days trying to get something done, and trying to get that thing done, you would have seen all the mistakes, research more. And so when they ask you something like, what kind of error would this generate, you know it off the bat without looking at any reference, because you've tried it several times and it reached to a roadblock, and you've registered in your mind that this doesn't ever work. All right. Okay. So these contacts, get them. Let's see. So when the person calls these contacts, let's run this and see. So everything goes well now, and it finds what it's supposed to find because we change it to title case. So you see how just changing this to title corrected any case that you use here. So that's why in your production environment, when you're collecting user inputs, you want to decide if you want it to be lowercase when the user put the input, and you want to make sure anything around that input has to be converted to lower. Like for instance, we'll do our login register system. When the user types in their email and password, you want to, the processing code, you want to make sure it converts whatever they type to lower. And then when they want to when you want to search a database, it converts to lower. So search it stores it in lowercase. So every time you want to retrieve, you make sure everything is in lower. So when you're adding new, it's in lower. So that in the case of encryption, lowercase, when the way a uppercase A is encrypted is different from the way lowercase a is encrypted, even the critical marks and all of those stuff. So you will decide how to do that. So these are the checks and the important things that you need to put there. Now, let's go to how we can simulate a hash table. When with this, we want to demonstrate a basic hash table, maybe the internals of the hash table. I'll continue here, and let me just say dev simulate hash table. So the data structures or the sequence types we learn. If you want to be a good developer, you have to understand strings and string methods. You don't need to have all the string methods in your head. You just need to have a reference sheet to know all of the methods you can use to manipulate strings to make things work properly. And then you want to look at list, tuples, dictionary, and set. Very important for you to do anything in software development. Dictionary is very important because for APIs, dictionary and sets are the major things you use. Sets for filtering, dictionary for key value pairs, and that's what you return when you have a JSON file, and you always get it as a dictionary in Python. In other languages, it's still going to be an associative array like that, so it's going to be the same concept. Then even in JavaScript, the same thing. Okay, we did sets, maps in JavaScript, so you have to look at those and the arrays. Then we also you also want to pay attention to all of the inbuilt functions, and especially inbuilt modules. We didn't look at a lot of them in our basic Python course, but in the advanced Python course, you'll see a lot of the inbuilt functions that we can use to do things even more easily, that we don't have to try to filter and do this, where we have an inbuilt module that has several functions and methods that we can use. Okay, so for your reading list and things you have to always keep at the back of your mind is string and string method, list and list method, tuple method, set, dictionary. Then you want to look at inbuilt modules and inbuilt functions. Once you know all of this, you're going to be an excellent developer. So we want to simulate a hash table. And what we want to do is to demonstrate the internal workings of a hash table. So let me beautify this. I'm just demonstrating something. I'll say, let's say, hash table simulation example. Now, what we want to do here is to get the size of the table, the number of buckets we want, what I was trying to simulate before. We have this in the pre-recorded video when we use object-oriented programming. So let's say we want the size of the table to be 5. You can change the number. So the size just means the number of buckets we have. So if it's a list, the number of empty lists, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so we store things. All of these buckets that we have will have a hash code or a reference that we use to know that this is the bucket that has that value, or the key that has that value. Okay, so we want to specify the number of buckets to be 5. Now we want to create the hash table, right? So we'll say, let's call it table, and let's use list comprehension. We want to create lists. We want to create a number of lists, to what I just did now. So we want to create 5 lists. So if we specify the size, we want to create list that is the number of the size. So if we use list comprehension, we want to create empty list for let's use a throwaway variable, which is underscore. So anytime you see underscore in a loop, it just means that it's an iterator, just like you have I, but we don't need it for anything. We just need it to temporarily loop through and just throw away the value. We don't need the value. So say for underscore in range, then the size that we specify. So you understand this? This comprehension is another thing you need to know, because sometimes you do better with this comprehension than trying to create a loop or things that might not be as good as that. So does everybody understand what I've just done?
Yes, I understand.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we have the size of the bucket, the number of buckets we want to have in a table, and then we created a table with those number of buckets that we'll have. Then we want to define the key now. So let's create a private method. When you see an underscore before the name of a function in Python or a name of a method, it just means it's private. It just needs to be used within here and not accessible from the outside. So it's just a private method. So you will see this in codes. I want you to be able to read other people's code. Anytime you see an underscore before the name of a function or a method, it just means this is just meant to be private. So we have a table and we have the number of buckets that is equal to the size, right? And when we use the range function, we know that it starts from 0 to the size minus 1. But because we know that it's the last index is when we specify the stop. So when we say 0 to the stop is not inclusive. And so that's why we don't need to put the minus 1, because we're using the range function. So if the size is 5, it's do 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the last index position will be 4. So assuming this was inclusive, then we'll say size minus 1. So we don't need the minus 1 there. Now we have the hash function that we want to use to hash and get the key for each of the buckets in the table. Now we say in Python we have the inbuilt hash function, hash, that we can use to hash any immutable. So what we want to do now is to hash a key. Just use the hash inbuilt function and not create anything new. But why do we modulo the size? Can anybody tell me? I said it earlier. Why do we do modulo the size of the table?
To stay that within that limit in that hash
Perfect.
table.
Perfect. So we modulo the size just so that the key will be within the size, the indexes will be within the size. So whenever we get the key modulo the size, we'll always get it within the 0 to 4, so that the index position will be the key, and then the value, the elements I will put in the bucket will be the value. Now, do you understand what I'm saying now, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So now when we want to insert data now, for instance, let's insert a sample data. Let's say sample data. And let's say the sample data is let's have Alice, and we'll put the phone number for Alice to be 123. Let's just make all of this a string. I just want to illustrate something here. I'm trying not to repeat the pre-recorded video so you have a wider range of understanding when you watch them. Has anybody gone through the pre-recorded video before this class?
Not completely, but yes.
So does this make you to now look like you're understanding it better?
Yes.
Okay, so let's say we have this sample data and we want to say for key value in sample data dot items. You always use dot items when you want to get the tuple of key and values, right? So dot items, and we want to get the index now will be the hash. We're going to hash the key. So index will call the hash function we created, key, and then we want to insert it into the table now. So we'll say table index. So because the index is the key now. So say table index dot append, and we're going to append because these buckets are just like the list data type, right? So we use the append method to now append the key and the value. So what did we do now? We use like the index for the key and then the value there. So this is the way that we can insert into. This is just a sample insert sample. Let's just say insert data sample. So you can use the pre-recorded video to see how you make this a method that will insert. So you can just say def insert and then you provide the key and the value, all right? Or the key will just be the element. So let's say in that event you put def insert value, something like this, and then you provide the elements, right? And then you want to say the key will now be equal to, or we'll say the index will now be equal to the hash of the element, something like that. You call the hash function of the element, and then now you now say table index. Okay, so you get the index, table index dot append. You append the key. So now is the index you want to append as the key. So we say key is equal to index. So now you append the key and the value and the element, which is the value. Okay. So in this event, this is what we'll do. We have this def hash. Sorry. So we have this hash that we created. This hash function is actually within this simulate hash table. So we have like an embedded method within the method. And I don't think I've shown you anything like that where you have embedded function or embedded method within a function like this. We'll look at those things in advanced courses. And we can now have an insert method here that will work like this. Okay, so this is the way you want to make it a function. But if not, you do exactly this. So you understand what I just did, right? How
Yes.
you can turn this to a function. Okay. So when we do this, you can still do a display here to display table. And for this, let's just say let's use I bucket. So we'll get the index and the bucket in. So when you want to get the index position of a bucket, we know that we use enumerate, right? The enumerate function in Python is going to give you a tuple of the index and then the value in that index. Okay, so we use enumerate like this, and then we print out. Let's say we want to print out the bucket. Let's say this is I is the index position bucket, and then we print I and the bucket, something like that. Okay, so I bucket, so we have the index and the value within it. So let's now create, I'll show you a different way of doing everything. Let me just write something here. I want you to see a different way of doing a lot of things, because in Python, sometimes you try to read people's code and you now wonder, I've not seen this syntax before. Okay, I'll do this before we go so you can see that. So let's say def main, and here we want to say, I'll just type this, then I'll explain what I'm doing. While true, let's print, I'm just doing a formatting. 1, 2, 3. I'm formatting this. Let's say I will do a heading like this, and I'll write smart contact manager, and I'll underline it like this, like a heading. And then let me write something like 1, add contact, 2, find contact, 3. So I'm just formatting a display when I want to display it. So 3, we did add, find, delete list. Okay, 3, delete contact, 4, list contact, 5, we'll simulate hash table, 6, we'll just say we want to exit, something like this. And then now I'll close this list. So you see, this is like we're doing the template form of string. Now, do you understand what I just did here? I just tried to print a formatted text like this. And then, so now I want to say the user should, like, it's just like an interactive system, right? So we use the input function, let the user enter a choice from 1 to 6, what they want to do, whether they want to add contact, find contact, delete. So like this, I'll say something like choice is equal to input. So I'm creating an interactive system. I'm just trying to use a lot of things in basic Python to see how you can use them all in an app. Enter your choice from 1 to 6, right? So we'll allow the user to select the choice. And when the user enters the choice, so say if choice is equal to 1, because it will always come as a string, right? Or we can convert it to int if we want. So if the choice is equal to 1, we're trying to add contact. So we'll say name is equal to, we'll ask the user to enter the name. Input, enter name. So we're creating an interactive system. And when the user entered the name, so we want them to enter phone, email, and then we'll now use a function. So the user enter a phone. So this interactive system will help you know how you will do your front end, where you get the name from the inputs that is entered into a form on the front end, the phone number from an input. So we're just trying to simulate the front end, but we're using just interactive method in our command line here. Okay. So when you have a blueprint for something, this is what you always do. When you want to have a blueprint for a functional app, and then you begin to have meeting with the different teams, maybe front-end team if you're not a full-stack developer, and they know exactly the input field they want to build on the front end and what endpoint it connects to on the back end. Okay, so enter email here, and then when they enter all of this, you now call your add contact function that you created here. So add contact, because the person chose 1 as the choice, so you use add contact. So this would now be like the save button. Add contact would be like you clicked on the save button after they put the name phone number and email of a contact. So it will just call this method add contact, supply the name, the phone. So now, do you understand what I'm doing here? We are simulating like a front end and a back end all at once here. But what I am trying to achieve here is to do it on the prompt here, where we don't have a front end, but we're trying to test this to say the user selected a choice, which means the user wants to add a contact. Okay, so in the full app, this would be like a save button on a sign up or add contacts page. So 1 means like you are adding contacts, and so this name will now pull what was entered in the input field, name, what was entered in phone, what was entered in email. And then when you get all of this, you do all the sanitization you want to do when this is coming from the outside to prevent any kind of attacks. All right, whether it's strip slashes, you want to convert HTML special characters into their entity names or numbers and all of those things. And when you want to retrieve, you remember to decode all of these also. So once to add contact here, and then this will just add it. So you can now put the elif, different elif, if choice is 2, if it's 3, if it's 4. So if the choice is 2, we are finding contact, right? So let's try it. Let me just finish this before we go. So we'll say elif choice is equal to, so we'll use equal to 2. So 2 is to find contact. So we're going to get the name for the user to enter in a prompt. So we'll say enter name to find. So here you can decide if you want to control the case here. And when they enter the name, you call the find contact method or function in this case, since we're not doing object oriented. Find the contact and you pass the name. So this is basic. You will always have all the checks. If nothing is entered, if what is entered is not a string, if you want to sanitize, all of those will come here, and your error handling. Okay, but we are making it basic. So you want to do elif, the choice is 3. So if the choice is 3, you want to say, so 3 is to delete contact. So you always get the name and then you will delete the contact name. So name is going to be the same thing. Let's just enter the name to delete, and then you call the function delete contact name. All right, if the choice is 4, and we just want to list contacts, right? If the choice is 5. So if the choice is 5, you want to simulate hashed table. Simulate hash table. And if the choice is 6, is to exit, right? So you just print goodbye. And then you break. So anytime you want to exit a loop, you just break. And then else, invalid choice, right? So you just print. We want to have here invalid choice, try again. Okay, now because I created this function called main, I'm trying to show you something different. Normally we just say if name equal to main, right? That's what we normally do. Let me do this in a different way. This is supposed to be not an internal function, but outside of this. Okay, like this. Okay, so main. So now instead of this if name equal to main that I did here like this, what I will do now is to just call that function main. So you always see that like this, and you just call main. So this is another way you can do this, where you put all of your everything you want to run in a main function, and then when you are testing, you just call the main. So I want you to see this so that in the future, when you ever try to read people's code, you see that. So when I run now, it tells me, so you can see how it displayed based on how I wanted this to display. So Smart Contact Manager, add contacts, fine. So I want to select the choice and I want to do 1. I want to add contact. You tell me to enter a name. So let me enter Jane Doe. And it tells me to enter a phone number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And it wants an email. I will say jane.doe@test.com, and now it's added that there. So now it wants me to select another choice. If I don't want to keep adding, I can just do 6 and it will tell me goodbye. But let me add another contact. I'll say 1 and I'll enter name John Stone, and the phone number for John Stone 987-654-321, and the email john.stone@test.com, and then I'll just use 2 to find. The name I want to find is John Stone, and it returns the details for John Stone. You can see that. And if I want to simulate hash function of 5, and it simulates this hash table by having bucket 0, bucket 1, I have Charlie, because for this simulate hash function, simulate hash table, I try to create a sample data for Alice and Charlie and Bob, and I did this to display this bucket. And so to simulate the hash example here, I have the bucket 0, then bucket 1, I have Charlie and I have the number. I have bucket 2, Alice, the number, and Bob, the number. Now, because Alice and Bob resolves to the same address, we can see how it made space in the same buckets to put both of them. And you see that in lesson 1 and 2 of a pre-recorded video, where we try to solve the problem of collision, where we use chaining. And so this is chaining, where it makes space in the same buckets to store it when they resolve to the same address. And every time you do this hash in Python, it's randomized this. It will not store. If I run this again, it's not going to store in the same bucket. Why? Because the hash code is always randomized and change. So if you want to hash Alice, it's going to have a different hash code every time you run. Okay, so we can run this again and this will not resolve in the same bucket. It might have different buckets. So it just depends. And so you want to handle what you do with collision. If you want to use chaining or open addressing, and you see the 2 different ways we do those in the pre-recorded video. Now we can try to enter another one, delete contact 3, and we can decide to delete a contact, John Stone, and it's deleted John Stone. And if we want to list contact, so we'll select 4, and it's listed contact list. We only have Jane Doe because we removed that, and then we can do 6 and tell us goodbye like this. So you see how we simulated this, and this is one example. If you want, I can send this code to you for you to have this example, and I'll send the videos once available. So do you have any question about hash table?
No question for now.
So do you get an understanding with this now?
Yes, very much.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so I have like a reflection question for you. So why do we use a set to store phone numbers instead of a list?
For uniqueness.
Yes. So what happens if 2 different keys in hash to the same bucket?
Sorry, will you please repeat it?
Yeah, I said what happens when 2 different keys hash to the same bucket?
It causes collision.
Okay, and so how do we solve the collision problem?
Chaining or address.
Beautiful. Yes, we either use. So what is chaining?
Yeah, it's creating a list as the value.
Okay,
Adds the value to it.
Okay, so it's create space in the same bucket, but that's chaining.
Yes.
And then what is open addressing?
It uses the it loops through uses the set. Once if an item exists, it loops through to the next. It goes to the next bucket to look for space, or if it doesn't exist, then adds it there.
So what are the different variants of open addressing that we can use in Python? So if you look at the pre-recorded video, we have linear probing. We can use linear probing, we can use quadratic probing, and we can use double hashing. And we have those examples in our lesson resource and pre-recorded video where we can create a function called probe, and then we allow the user to select a method to handle collision by open addressing. And when the user creates an object of the class, they supply the method they want to use. And we can have a default method like linear. And linear is just to have the base hash that we have. So we create a hash just as we use the hash function in Python to hash the key. And we just do that modulo the size, right? That's just a linear one. And then if we want to use the quadratic one, we do that, but we do raised to the power of 2, like double asterisk, that's quadratic. And if we want to do double hashing, we hash the first time and then repeat the hash again the second time. Okay, so you can decide whatever method they use to handle it. And so when they use linear, it's just like you hash it, and then you call the same hash function that you've hashed, you modulo the size again the second time, so that it now gives you another bucket that is closer to that, but not the same, that will have collision. Okay, so that's the different open addressing method. Another question I'll ask is what is the average time complexity of lookups in a hash map?
Pick of 1.
Yes, because you go directly to it. You have the key, you go directly to the value. You don't need to go through anything. When it's time for you to delete, you delete just from the location, you're not shifting. Okay, so can you modify the app to allow searching by phone number? Is there a way you want to, like, maybe you're finding a contact? Can you find by phone number? Is there anyhow you can modify this app to allow you to search this by phone number?
Oh, it's because here we are doing it for a name.
Yes.
That's how you are asking that?
So you can modify it to search by phone number, right?
Yes.
Yes,
So-
we change the argument to the unique number, and then if the number is if
The
phone in unique number, then
Okay.
we
So-
get the sorry.
But you see that would be more complex, right? Because this one now, name in contact. Name is always the key to the contact, to the dictionary of the phone and the email. So now, one thing I want you to do is when you go and you want to practice this, try to create a function that will search by phone number. So you know that when you get this key and you want to get the phone, right, that is supplied. So if the user supplies the phone, you first of all want to get the name, the key associated with that key. So you know how it is embedded, where you have a key to a dictionary. So when you get the key, it now has a dictionary of phone and email. So how do you get the phone? So you can try it. I want you to look to trying to get to search by email and trying to search by phone also. Okay. So you can modify the same function to search by name, email, or phone. You can have two search criteria. They put their name and they put the email. Okay. Name, most of the time, is not going to be unique. So if you're searching by name, 2 people can have the same name. In fact, if it's an app that is on the internet, 10 people can have the same name. So the things that are unique is email address and phone number. They're always unique. 2 people will not have the same phone number. If not, if you dial today, you will call somebody else. You dial tomorrow, you call another person. And 2 people will not have the same email. So normally, you want to have something that is unique, has the search criteria. That when you return only that person. But you have a lot of apps like pharmacy systems, lab system. They'll ask you for your date of birth, they enter it, and they get everybody that has that date of birth listed. They will ask you for your name to verify so that they will know which of the people. So they search by date of birth. They have millions of people with the same date of birth. Then they'll ask for your name. So sometimes they'll ask for your name. They want to search by the first 3 letters of your last name. Like if you go to the pharmacy system that Walmart uses, for instance, they'll ask you for your last name and your first name. They'll type the first 3 letters of the last letter to search. They'll still ask you for your date of birth again. So it makes the search not so user-friendly. So the developers can just invest more time to just create something that what is unique to this person. So if you have a phone number that is on register and they search by your phone number, they get your details. In the event you don't have phone number, then they can go into more detailed search than trying to look for your last name or your first name and look for. But you always want to have a unique identifier or search, which will make it better. Now, if you want to use this for production, another way you can search that will make this even work, even better, is the phone number. You always check if it's inside unique numbers. Now, if you put unique numbers to add phone, do you want to modify where you have another tuple here that puts the name of the key and the phone number for that key? So these are things you want to think about, and then look at the time complexity of doing that. What makes more sense? So there are many ways. You can find 10 developers who will not think about it in the same way. All right. Another thing is that, can we add a JSON file for persistence so that when we save a contact and we rerun, we have those contacts already saved? So like just now, when I run again, all these things are no longer saved, because after this has existed, that's the end of the data I did, right? So if you want to rerun again to get the old ones that you have, can you add JSON file persistence to it? Can you add input validation? Like you don't want any empty names. Like here, you put a validation to see if the name is empty. Can you add, like you want to search by partial name, like what I just said? If the person starts typing OJO, also you bring out all the names that start with those 3 letters. Okay. If you want to use that dictionary iteration to search by partial names. Okay. Or you want to implement a custom hash function in this simulate hash table to implement a custom hash function. So we can do that. I don't think we have enough time. We've exceeded our time for today, but we can see if we want to have another class. I'll let you know if there's time on Monday morning. We can look at how we can do file persistence, or we can just add this to another week's lesson when we do a review, to see how we can update this code to have the persistent version where we'll demonstrate all of this. So what we want to do in those ones is to have a data file that will store this in maybe in a JSON file. And every time we want to run, we'll first of all load that JSON file, and we'll see everything that has been stored before, and we'll continue using everything that's been stored between runs. So if you run 100 times today, everything you added will just be saved. If you shut down and come tomorrow and you run, you get all the information that you have stored before. So like just in the case of a database, okay? And then when we want to save, we'll open a file and save there. These are like production ready systems. So we can actually do that again before your assignment is due. I'll see if next week we'll start earlier and see if we'll go to that part, if we have extra time after the last, and review this, so it will help you in your understanding and also in your assignment. Right? Any question?
Nothing for now.
Okay, so once I get the recording, I will send it across, and I will also send this file, or just include this file in your course resource for this code, so that you have it and it will be easy when you watch the video to have an example that you can make reference to as you do assignment 7. So for assignment 7, you want to start early. If your grades are dropping or your grades are below, you can try to do the bonus challenge to get an extra 100 points. All right.